Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to our Monday live show. Thank you very much for being here, wherever you're watching this, if it's on X, if it's on Rumble, if it's on Getter, if it's on YouTube, if it's on Facebooks, wherever it is. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, and glad to have you with us this evening as we put the world to right. Now, I've got a great guest, and she's coming on very shortly, and we're gonna sort out everything about the elections later this week. Or so she's promised me. She said she's going to sort it all out and explain everything to you. So I'm just going to sit back and relax, right? But before that, there's a few things I wanted to say. Just to sort of make a few. You know what annoys me? It annoys me the way that there are some people who are so triggered by Israel that anything you say and do makes you a Zionist shill. Now, I'm sick of that. I'm sick of, especially on X, the sheer number of these, I don't know, Palestinian shills, whatever they are, and even some people who aren't, and it just irritates the hell out of me that some people become so demented, so unhinged by their hatred of Israel. And really, you see, at a time when Jewish people have never been under as much threat here in the UK as they are. It kind of annoys me. So I see some of your comments, by the way, on different platforms, and it's pretty contemptible. Just letting you know that. Second thing, I noticed that, as you know, from the beginning of January, I've been a big supporter of the Iranian revolution. Basically, I want to see the Mullah regime overthrown, democracy of some sort returned to 90 million people. And I wasn't happy when they were slaughtered in the streets back on the 8th and 9th of January. I've talked about it loads. And I think that's a reasonable position. And that's why I support President Trump's actions. But I noticed again, I'll just say it out, I noticed a Restore Britain supporter coming on to me and saying, oh, look at the boomer. The boomer wants more war and death. Listen, you absolute clown retard. 45,000 people were killed in 2 days. Every day since the ceasefire, there's been Iranians strung up, executed, and in other ways dispatched into eternity. Don't you lecture me on what will the mighty Restore do? So, just saying that I'm not taking any lectures from you, right? Absolutely no lectures whatsoever when it comes to this issue. And I do hope that in events that have happened today, you may have seen, I hope that war resumes. In fact, I want to talk about this with my special guest as well in a minute, because, the fact of the matter is it's in the interest of civilization that we change a regime in Tehran. And it's that simple. And honest to God, if some people can't see that, then, well, you're wasting my time. Please do not follow me. Please get out of my way, because you're just an irritation. Right. Those are the couple of things I just wanted to say. It's bubbling inside of me, so I just wanted to get it out there. But anyway, all that notwithstanding, thank you very much for being here. Now then, tonight, or this week, we've got these really important elections happening on Thursday in Scotland, in Wales, and in England throughout the different councils. You know, all the council elections that Sir Keir wanted to stop, they're happening this Thursday. And I believe it's going to be very seismic. And so I wanted to have someone to come on and chat to me about it and give me different perspectives. And there's no one I can think of better than I would like to talk to than this lady I'm about to introduce you to. So without further ado, let's bring Julie straight into the studio. Hi, Julie.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I had a bit of a rant there, but I just, there's such stupidity. Julie, maybe the first thing we could do, we're going to tackle a lot of stuff here, but just up front, maybe just give a little introduction of yourself and your background to my various followers, wherever they are, so people have a wee bit of a sense of what you've done.
Sure. Well, I'm just a normal, everyday person who works here, mum, wife. I'm a veteran, military veteran. My husband's a former Royal Marine. And basically, I'm on X, so Voice of Wales, X-Wren on there. And I'm just an everyday normal person who's got more and more and more involved because I'm just absolutely fed up of what's happening in this country. I've been a Tory all my life, no more can I say. And then that changed drastically as things happened. First with Boris, and then who I literally believed in. I thought he was going to be amazing. And it went downhill with Rishi. And then, of course, as we all know, we've had Starmer. And with each betrayal, I've got more and more politically involved. I went on X, like a lot of people during COVID, to get a bit of banter, a bit of, my husband
Yeah.
was locked away in Sri Lanka at the time with his job, and I was stuck here on my own working. My family, obviously, all up north, and my daughters had to, one of them's got an immunosuppressant disease, so she had to be away. So I was literally on my own a lot. So I went on to X and started just bantering. And as I said, I was heavily involved in the campaign for Al Blackman, and my friend introduced me to X then, and then I got more and more and more involved. Then I saw the other side of X, their hate, because I was supporting Marine A at the time, and it's just gone on from there, really.
Yeah.
So
That accent, you're from the northeast then, are you originally?
I am. I'm
Yeah.
from Sunderland. I'm a Mackham, so I'm hated even more. But yeah, I'm from the northeast originally, but I moved away when I joined up,
Yeah.
and I've settled in Devon because I absolutely love it here. I'm still, my heart still belongs to the northeast. I still
Mm.
follow Sunderland, but I love it here. We just love it in Devon.
And Julie, I mean, you mentioned the fact that but your military associations in terms of with the armed forces and whatnot. And can I ask you the first question? I mean, how do you feel about the fact that I read today that I think we have, is it five of the ships that the UK has, the fighter or the frigates or whatever, they're not even seaworthy.
No,
How do you feel about the fact that even if we wanted to help the states, which I think we should have, but even if we wanted to, our military's being decimated. I mean, as someone who served, how does that make you feel?
I'm so angry. But again, it's not just this government, is it? It's been
No.
previous, and it's just, we saw it happening years and years ago. And it was, as I say, we just saw that the shipbuilding was going away. Everything was just moving away. And suddenly the Cold War wasn't here. We didn't need to have this military background, and we didn't need to have this strong military that we'd always had. We were relying heavily on the EU and NATO. But I just felt like it was a bit of a, I don't know, it was just sitting there comfortable thinking we're going to be okay. But as it's shown now, we are the weakest we've ever been.
Yeah. Um,
Our
it's
navy was
yeah.
a formidable force. We were the world's envy
Yeah.
for our navy.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, Julie, I remember back in 1982, the time of the Falklands, Thatcher was able to get together a task force of 127 ships, and Stormer couldn't get one ship, one
no,
destroyer, out
that
to
was an
Cyprus.
embarrassment.
I felt so bad. I feel so bad for those in the armed forces. They deserve so much better, I think. And it's almost like, and it's not just Labour. You're dead right. The Tories before them as well. In fact, I'd say for the last, I don't know what you reckon, 20, 30 years, there's
Yeah,
been a rundown.
it's gone down. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. Which means that we are actually so exposed. Whenever the Iranians talked about, oh, we can fire a missile to Diego Garcia, we could probably get one to London. And I seen some Labour MP turn up on a Sunday and said, well, that's okay, we could take care of it. He was lying. We don't even have that anti-ballistic capability. It's
no, we don't.
for such a country that we have, our pedigree that we've had, proud pedigree, it's in the toilet, and it's so depressing.
It's depressing. And again, Twickenham, the Army and Navy there I was at this weekend,
Yeah, yeah.
and talking to serving veterans, all walks of life, that's military who were there.
Mhm.
Everybody's feeling the same. And I was talking to people I didn't know, who I wasn't friends with, who everybody was saying the same. A lot of them had shirts on which had derogatory things on the back. For the first time ever, political about Starmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just got the feeling from everybody I spoke to, there may have been people there who thought differently, but the people I came across and spoke to all were of the same mindset. And I was speaking to a few guys on the night after the match when we were staying in the UJC, and they were serving, and one of them had actually been a former Met police officer, and his thoughts on the Met police under Sadiq Khan were literally on par with us. And he said he just doesn't even recognise the Met police now. He'd served in the Met police before he went into the forces. And he's in the Navy, and he said he feels sorry for the young guys coming in now, because it's just not what we've known it as. It's not, and it's not their fault. The guys are highly trained. I'm not knocking the military themselves. They are still highly trained, and they're still more than capable, but they're being let down because they haven't got the equipment or the capacity to do their job.
Well, when you look at what happened, what is it, HMS Dragon? I mean, so Starmer says, yeah, we're going to send it to protect the base on Cyprus, and that took 3 weeks, Julie, for the ship to even sail, and then it breaks down because I think the toilets didn't work or something ludicrous, and it has to go to Cyprus for repairs. And again, the Royal Navy has been such a diamond, in the crown of British military, and you think, oh my God, how have we got here? But maybe it's good that we see it. I mean, it's been there. You've seen it because your background. But most people just assume that, well, look, we've got our Army, Navy, and Air Force, and it's all great. And it's just not. And now we see it.
I'm just getting, well, and actually going back to what you're saying, I was at Victoria's music festival in Portsmouth with a few Wrens, ex-Wren friends. And we were there, and the Prince of Wales, it was a bit surreal actually, in this big field with all the music bands and everything. And you see your ship sailing past, and it was going out to sea. So everybody was cheering and singing. It was the Prince of Wales going out to operations in America. And the next thing, 7 miles out, she broke down. I mean, that was one of her, at the time, she was one of our newest carriers. And it was like, what the hell? All this money into this new carrier, then it's broke down 7 miles off the coast. It's absolutely ludicrous. And it's just gone downhill from there. I mean, we've got these two big carriers. I'm in Portsmouth a lot. There's two big, huge carriers, obviously, sitting there, and they're either broken down, or when they do go out to exercise or in the waters, they just either turn around or they end up having to go and get fixed somewhere. And this is our Navy. These are our two main carriers. It's just ludicrous.
And then we've got Starmer talking about, he'll send them up into the Arctic to defend Greenland and all this stuff. And it's all in his head, isn't it? Because we don't have that. Our capabilities are not there anymore. And,
no, they're not.
No, but I mean, I suppose, it does sort of, it saddens me and bothers me. And I guess, Julie, the thing about it is that you and I aren't the only people who feel like this. And, I'm sure there's millions think like us. I'm sure now in so many ways. And, this week may be a moment in history when that, all those years, decades of complacency, Conservative and now Labour, can be brought shuddering to an end. Because, as you know, we've got the elections in Scotland, got them in Wales, got them in England as well. All those council elections that Starmer desperately wanted to cancel to save democracy. And now people are going to go out and speak. And I mean, from a political point of view, I'm not, I've gone through, I've tried to do as best as I can, take Charlie Kirk's advice. And Charlie Kirk's advice was that, look, people who are more or less similar minded should not fall out with each other and just keep having goes at each other. And I see in the UK, I see we have Reform, I see we have Advance UK, we have Restore Britain, and we have a couple of smaller parties as well. And if you look at the policy differences between them, they're not massive. I know people maybe would say, "Oh, I'm not sure about Nigel Farage," and others will say, "I'm not sure about Rupert Lowe," whatever. But my view is, but I don't want to get into this game of nitpicking like one against the other, because what worries me most, Julie, is that we could face a nightmare scenario where we're going to have a
Yeah.
Green, Labour, Lib Demi, SNP, Plaid, Frankenstein govern us in 2029, and we won't survive that, I think. So where do you stand politically, can I ask you, Julie, when it comes to this position?
Well, I was Reform. I thought that was going to be, I was saving party. It was going to be the new, get rid of the uni party. We've actually got this amazing party. I was a huge Farage fan, and it's just not what I wanted it to be. It's just gone so far from it. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of their policies that I think are brilliant, like the one that Zia's
Okay.
said today.
Yeah, that's
Although
good.
a lot of people are disagreeing with it, I think it's masterclass. I think it's brilliant myself.
Yeah,
But I'm actually advanced.
yeah,
And I've had a lot of people unfollow me. I've had a lot of hate, but this is where I get frustrated, because like you've just said, there's so many splits and we all want the same thing.
yep,
It's just people are getting behind different leaders. I was hoping, I was one of them that really, really rooted for Ben and Rupert to get together. And I
yeah,
thought that was going to happen. So did Ben.
yeah,
And actually to see the slurs against Ben has been awful. Now, I know it was disappointing for Ben because him and Rupert didn't actually manage to come to an agreement. But
mm,
I felt sorry for Ben, because suddenly everybody who'd actually gone from Reform had found this advanced party, had found Ben, they thought it was amazing. Then Rupert, put his party into the mix. And then everybody going on to Restore, because I was in both, but everybody going
you
on
were
to
in, yeah,
Restore
yeah, yeah,
was suddenly you couldn't like Rupert and Ben, you had to be one or the other. And then suddenly all this hate was going towards Ben and saying, "Oh, they're done for, just give it up." And I was thinking, well, why can't we just all unite? We've got 3 years still, and
yeah,
Reform came up from nowhere. They were the little party everybody didn't take seriously. Look what happened to them. Now,
yeah,
Ben said over and over again, and I'm the same, that he will, although he's got advance and he believes in advance, and I do too, but he will do what's right for the country come the time. And
yeah,
I think it's just a shame not everybody is going that way. There's a lot of people, no, they're calling him because he's a Pakistani, and
you know
it's
that, no,
just
yeah,
awful,
yeah, yeah,
awful. But it's not doing us any favors. Like you say, I dread to think that there's going to be a Labour of Greens in, or a Labour Green alliance or coalition. That horrifies me. And I'm
mm,
thinking, just swallow your pride, stop infighting. We can all agree to disagree on the fact that you like Rupert, I like Ben. Some people like Farage, I don't know. But stop the infighting, for crying out loud, and
yeah.
just come together when we need to. That
Well,
includes the leaders, by the way. That includes them too.
yeah, well, I mean, Julie, I know you attended one of the live events that I put on in London there,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. I think Ben was maybe, I think that was when Ben was at, and Kate Hoey, Baroness Hoey, and stuff. I put on different events, and I've actually tried in the past 6 months to put together. I would love to have seen Rupert Lowe, and Ben Habib, and even someone from Reform sit on a stage and talk to an audience and take questions. And it was impossible. And it wasn't to do with Ben. It was impossible. It was impossible because other people just wouldn't do it. And that's why. Yeah, I find it frustrating, but having said all that, that being said, millions of people are going to be going out to vote on Thursday, and in most parts of the UK, apart from where I live, nobody's voting in Northern Ireland on Thursday, but they'll be doing that next year. God forbid. But anyway, and it seems to me that Reform, Nigel Farage's party, is poised to do extremely well. Is in all places actually? Is that your reading, or what? What do you think?
You know what? I'm so frustrated because I feel I'm going against, I suppose, my principles of advance now, but this is what I'm trying to say. I'd rather everybody do what's right for the country in this moment, because
Mm,
I think in May, people, sorry, Ben, people are going to have to go with a party that's the biggest threat to Labour, the Greens,
that's
the
right.
biggest, the party that is going to stop either of that party getting in. If that means you have to swallow your pride and go for reform, then that's what we've got to do. We have got to get seats in there. We've got to get the idea of the Greens getting in. I'm literally horrified at, but that's what's going to happen. And I think Reform hopefully are going to get more seats than the Greens or Labour. But if you have Reform and Conservatives up against each other, that's where we've got the worry that in that area, then they're going to hand it to the Greens or to Labour.
Well,
I
you're
don't think
right.
Labour are going to get in, to be honest. I really don't think Labour are going to get in, but I do think the
No,
Greens or Liberal Democrats.
I think Labour's going to get smashed, and
Yeah.
I mean and even though it might sound very petty and vindictive, I'm loving I can't wait, Julie,
Oh, no.
to see Friday morning when you see the absolute destruction of Labour, and that's good. And like you, I'm taking the view, well, reform at this point in time or the alternative. To now, there's questions. There are reasonable questions to have about reform, but that's just the facts of the matter. Their names are on the ballot paper in Scotland and in Wales. I don't know. Is Advance putting up any council candidates? I think they might be. I'm not sure of that.
What, in Wales or
Yeah,
just
wherever.
in?
Yeah.
Yeah, in general they are. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, Ben, because
Mm.
I just think we've got to, seriously, for now, we literally have got to just get behind the party whichever right-wing party
Yeah.
has got the strongest chance in that area. That's what I think we have to go for.
And actually, the comment that comes up on screen there is, I've said before, this is our Jed, the producer, saying, vote for reform so we can get the Uni Party out, and the
Yeah,
infighting between us will only allow the Greens and Labour
yeah, of
in.
course it will.
You're absolutely right. And actually, in Scotland, it'll allow SNP in, and in Wales, I mean, see Wales.
I think Ben, well, I'm hoping I've got my facts right, being in advance, but so I'm sorry if I've got it wrong. But I think Ben has stepped his candidates out of Wales for the good of all, because I think they need reform in Wales at the moment, because I think that's their strongest chance of
Yeah.
getting the two parties out. And I think he has actually done that. Speaking to Dan, Voice of Wales, who obviously lives there, and Stan,
Yeah.
I think that's what Ben's done. And I just think salute him if that's what he has done, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's for the great of Wales, isn't it? It's for the better of them. I can't even
Well,
get my words right.
yeah, no, your words are fine. Your words are fine, but you're spot on. I mean, Wales faces the prospect of Plaid, who are a bunch of freaks, bunch of hard left Marxist freaks, actually topping the poll and forming a government that might be supported by the Greens, and what that would do for the people of Wales would be a nightmare. So you're right. If Advance and others give reform every best chance, then you can't do more than that, Julie. You know, what will be will be. But certainly the polls are suggesting, as much as you can believe polls, that in Wales it's really tight. And obviously we want to see the sort of centre right vote maximised. Can I ask, just out of curiosity, what's your views on the Conservatives? Because I have problems insofar as I can't forgive them, Julie, for the Brexit betrayal, Cameron, all of that. I can't, lockdown, stuff like that. I can never forgive them. And I know people said Kemi Badenoch's made a great difference, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that this is going to be, Friday will prove a good day for the Conservatives. What's your thoughts?
I just think they're talking the talk at the moment. They've had their chance. They were arrogant to think that the
Mm,
electorate didn't matter. What we
yeah,
voted for, we didn't get. We were betrayed by those of us who vote for Brexit. We were betrayed massively.
yeah,
And I just think now it's just too little too late. Kemi,
yeah,
I watch her and I do think she's actually quite good, but I just think she's another one. They're very good at talking, the Conservatives. They're very polished. They know what they're doing. They've
yeah,
been in it for Christ knows how long. They've been
yeah,
in this game. Why didn't they do it when they had the chance? Why didn't they do it when, they were in power? It would
yeah,
have made all the difference.
yeah,
And I still think, as much as she stands there and, calls out Starmer, I still think it's all pantomime, because it just annoys me that they're all laughing and joking. The state of this country, it's absolutely disgusting. It's the worst we've ever been. And they
mm,
can just laugh and joke, and
mm,
political score and points there. That means nothing really. That
yeah,
it's action speaks everything, and they should have been doing it when they were in power. So I'm
it's,
sorry, I've been a
yeah,
Tory all my life, even went against my northeast roots and
yeah,
family,
yeah,
because I was a Thatcherite. A lot of my relatives were miners, so we just, what we did,
yeah,
even in them days, agreed not to discuss it. We just agreed to disagree, otherwise we would have not spoken again. And
yeah,
they've been hardened
yeah,
Labour all their lives. And I never thought, before my dad died, I never thought these words would come out of his mouth. And he said, "We need Thatcher back." He hated her, but that's what he said,
mm,
um, a couple of years ago. And I just think, actually, yeah, we need somebody strong like her. She's hated by, obviously, the Scousers. She's hated by the Northern people. But most of them now in Sunderland are
mm,
now, well, all my family are now voting for reform.
yeah. Well,
And they laughing because I'm not voting for reform, unless obviously in the locals I will be,
yeah,
because they're like,
yeah,
why aren't you voting for reform? Because they're not on X. They don't, a lot of it's social media, unfortunately. But
yeah.
of course, trying to convince people, a lot of my friends haven't heard of Ben Habib, but a lot of them haven't heard of Rupert either. So I think it's going to take a while for their names to become,
I think you're right. I think actually, I spent my life working in the marketing field and trying to establish any brand, in whichever sphere you're in. It doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes it doesn't even work. And it's a hard job. So to establish brand Ben and Vance, or brand Rupert and Restore, that's taken a lot of time, because they've both come out of Reform, obviously, as well. And Reform they've got that media breakthrough but even then, like, to be fair to Nigel Farage, I mean, even now, even today, the media still try to demonize him.
yeah, yeah, they do.
Oh, the 5 million that he took, or this, that, and the other, all the racist candidates he's had. So even when the brand breaks through, you're still going to get abused, because the British media is just toxic, I think.
Well, I think it's the British media that's been the cause of all of this, because obviously it's all their propaganda, it's all their spin on everything. Instead of just reporting on facts and truth, they just put their spin, their political spin. And then you've got people who don't watch GB News, they don't watch right-wing channels, they watch because they trust in BBC, especially the older generation who
Older,
aren't on
yeah,
X. They
yeah,
just trust in what they're seeing from the news channels. And we
yeah.
all know that they just full of it. They just put their own spin on things, and they are
That's
very left wing.
Yeah, and that's a real problem, because older people tend to vote. They're much more likely to go out and vote. Older people, but older people conversely listen to watch the BBC. I mean, I have long since abandoned. In fact,
Yeah,
I don't think it's not news the BBC puts out. It's propaganda. And the more,
it's
and you saw it during COVID as well, Julie. The more people listen to the TV, the more brainwashed they become. And it's the same now. You turn on the BBC, and it's how racist Reform is. And I mean, just wait till they get to Rupert and Ben. I mean, they'll be uber racist, because that's just the way they are. But then there's younger people coming up as well. And I mean, we've been at things that, I know we met at a Tommy Robinson event in Downing Street, and other things, where there's a lot more younger people coming in, and they don't pay any attention to the mainstream, for which I am very grateful. That means that then here on X and other platforms, we've got a chance of help, maybe providing better information to them.
Yeah, but what worries me about the younger generation, I think again you've got a split. You've got
Yeah.
people like, well, my daughter, who's very strong academic girl. Well, both my daughters are, but they've got their own mind. They've always just gone with who they want. They used to say to me, "Mum, who do I vote for?" And I used to say, "Well, you look up yourself and see what manifestos you like and what you want to vote for." And they both now, they were both Conservatives. One of them was Liberal, but no more. And now they both going for reform because obviously they don't know enough about Anne Vance, because like I say, I don't put my views onto them. So because they don't know enough about Vance and Restore, they won't go for them. They're going for reform because that to them is the better party for what they want. However, I've got people of the same generation as them that I know who have come out of uni completely indoctrinated, completely, their mindset is completely different. And I think the youngsters, like my daughter says, she goes out with friends who are completely away from reform, that, like you say, they think they're disgusting, like racist thugs, but they don't talk about politics when they're out. I think the older generation tend to more on a social box, but they don't. And then you've got your literal nutcases, as I call them, from uni with the placards and things. So you've got that extreme side of it.
Yeah.
But I just think, again, it's the indoctrination in the universities and in schools now.
It is. Yeah,
and
it's
that's
both.
been allowed.
Yep.
If that was, if if that was universities pushing propaganda for right wing, the media they'd be up in arms. There'd be hell on.
Yeah.
But it's acceptable because it's not, because it's left.
I did a bit of a data deep dive for two English cities, Oxford and Cambridge, both university cities. And the shocker, Julie, when you look at how the people, their voting intentions, it's massively green. And then behind that, Labour, behind that, Lib Dems, and then very far behind Reform and the Conservatives. So, these people have been educated into stupidity, as far as I can see. They, or certainly no common sense. They all want and it's a worry, and we see it across the water in the States as well. Universities are little factories for kind of Marxist type views, and young people come out. A lot of them, not all of them, but many do. As Oxford and Cambridge are showing, just you wait till you see the local council results. The Greens are going to clean up in those two cities.
But again, so going back to the Greens, I've got folk who say, "Oh, I'm going to go for the Greens," and when I ask why, they've no idea what the Greens have become. They think it's all nice, fluffy little chickens and nice, keeping the earth green and keeping it all nice and clean. They don't realise there's a very sinister side coming through the Greens now. And it's literally, and these people, like Polanski, he's just a useful idiot. He's gay and Jewish. Does he really think if they get in power that he's going to be allowed? Well, if everything happens that he wants, this uncontrolled migration and immigration and everybody coming in here and everybody suddenly being on drugs and allowed to do what the hell they like, does he think that he's going to last more than 2 minutes? Because, like I say, he's a useful idiot. They all are. They won't even be in.
Yeah. I mean, you saw it in Gorton and Denton in that by-election where Hannah Spencer won. Hannah Spencer won
Oh my Lord.
because the Muslim vote rallied behind her. And this is the thing you see that really, I think it's interesting, because for years Labour depended on that Muslim vote. And they held it for years, and it started to fragment now. And I think maybe what we're going to see on Friday morning is that Muslim vote will overwhelmingly have shifted to the Greens and then to some of these independent, the Gaza candidates. And the Greens are not green anymore. I think they're just puppets for Islam.
They are. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. They're useful idiots.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the caliber of the Green leaders, that they do not fit in with the
No,
ideology,
no, they
and
don't. No, do they? No,
they are
there's not
not
going to
going to
be
be.
too. Yeah, I mean, trans is not going to go down too well. Although,
No.
did you see actually, Julie, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they put on? Do you remember there was some event they put on in Trafalgar Square in London, and Zach Polanski and Hannah
Yes.
Spencer were on stage, and I think they had a male stripper the other side of them, and you're thinking, how's that going down with your core base in Gordon and Denton? Maybe not very well. I didn't notice
No.
what's his name, Mothin Ali. I didn't notice him. He wasn't. Didn't seem to be present in
No.
Trafalgar Square. That was
No.
a
I mean, that I looked at that and thought, this is. Can you imagine him, Zach Polanski, is as a PM? Can you? It's a joke. The
yeah, but
whole, all our politics has gone to a different level. It's just beyond comprehension at the minute.
you're right. But we were talking about how hard it is to build a brand. And that's a problem that Ben Habib and Rupert Loaf will definitely face. But Zach Polanski came from nowhere about a year ago. And what I found really interesting was the media gave him very no critical examination
No,
whatsoever. Almost from the get-go, Julie, he was being hailed as this great guy with these great new policies. And I think he's as much a creation of the media
of
as
course
well
he
as a
is.
puppet. Yeah. So that goes back to, I keep bringing it back to the media because they're so malignant in the UK, and so I mean, they present, they joke about Polanski. It's almost like he's a bit crazy, and is that strange business of him being able to enhance the size of a woman's breast just by looking at it. Yeah, and they let him get away with all of that. And I've heard so much stuff. I mean, um, that stabbing that happened in Golders Green, those two Jewish men who almost lost their lives. I mean, Polanski was more concerned about the actions of the
Yeah,
police officers. Did you see
yeah,
that?
yeah. I did.
What
I mean,
what do
he's
you think of
retracted
that?
it now, hasn't he? He's apologised now.
Oh yeah, because he had to. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I watched that and I knew. I said to my husband, well, even my husband said to me at first, "Oh, they're going to be heavy," but he hadn't seen the whole build up to it.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
said to him, yeah, but I said, you haven't seen, there's no sound on that. You can hear them telling him to drop the knife, drop the knife. He wouldn't drop the knife. He had his arms hidden. He could have had an IED device or anything in there.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get his arms out.
Right.
He could have been hanging onto a button or anything. They
Yeah.
had to do something. And that's what they did. And I thought that was actually appropriate what they did.
Oh, so do I. I think that did they not try to taser him and the taser didn't work or malfunctioned or something?
Yeah,
But
the taser knocked him to the ground, but not enough that he lost
that he
control
was,
of his
and yeah,
arms.
that's right. Yeah. So I mean, as you say, but I just thought, Polanski comes out and he's criticizing not the attacker, not
No,
not
I
not
know.
the not the, but the police. And then, as you say, he apologized because he got the heat on it. And that was forced out of him. But then he subsequently, I think, doubled down and still said, we must ask questions of the Metropolitan Police, Julie, So again, so the Greens are not, and he's not a bunch, they're not a bunch of innocents. I see them as actually really dangerous.
They are
Um,
very sinister, actually.
Sinister,
Um,
yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. And so when you have people like the Green Party, and then if you go to Wales and you have Plaid, who
oh,
are, I mean, I don't understand. Why do Welsh people vote for Plaid? Tell me that. Why do you think that is? Because I
I
don't get it.
think because there's this hatred for Tories,
Mm,
to be fair, in Wales. I mean, I can't speak for the Welsh. I know I'm Voice of Wales Wren, but I can't. I'm telling you because I helped them out. But I can't actually speak for the Welsh. But in my personal view, there's just been this long history that has just been brought through generations that they've got to hate the English and they've got to hate anything to do with English politics. And for some reason, they've adopted Labour, or they did, and
yeah,
it's just gone very hard left in Wales. I
yeah.
mean, not everyone, obviously, because like I say, the
No.
reform did make actually quite a big headway in the last
Yes.
what
Yeah.
was it?
Well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't believe they went for an even more left-wing party who was hardened. They were worse than Labour,
I know. I
but
know.
Reform had I think if they push this time, as long as no other party stands, no other right-wing party,
Yeah.
they'll actually reforms could actually do quite well in Wales. But I don't understand. I don't understand
Yeah.
because they're poorer. Everything about Wales at the minute is absolutely awful. It needs a lot of money putting into it. It needs a big boost because some of these places are really dire. They're really run down, and yet they're still voting these Labour councillors who are just ruining their towns and cities.
I can remember a couple of years ago, I was over in Wales. I flew into Cardiff. I was going to speak at it. UKIP had asked me to go and speak at their conference, so I took that opportunity. And I hadn't been in Wales for a few years, and I think it was in Newport or wherever it was that I ended up speaking. But eh, I just noticed that there was, let's put it this way, there was a lot of diversity. And I'm thinking, oh, it didn't used to be like this in the valleys, but that seems to be an issue, the immigration issue that the Welsh have got, as indeed of the Scottish. I was talking to a friend in Scotland the other day, and she was saying, like, we've got it up here too. Everyone thinks it's just England, Julie, but the truth of the matter is, it's all parts of the UK are being changed by this wave after wave of migrants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you've just said, Scotland, but again, you've got your SNP, who people are pushing because they're a Scottish National Party. But actually, what are they doing for Scotland?
Nothing.
They're actually doing nothing. And it's because it's this generation thing. If you've got to hate the English and you've got to hate the Conservatives, which it was Conservatives at the time, and I think it'll be hard for Reform, Advance, Restore to break through in these places because it's a bit like the North. They start to come round to it a bit more now, the North of England, but it's this staunch, you can't vote for a right wing. It's like we'll just carry on blindly voting for this left wing party that are clearly not doing anything for the actual countries.
I think that's something that Nigel Farage does understand, though. And I think maybe that explains why some of the reform policies, I think, are a bit wishy-washy, to be honest. Like, for example, initially Farage was in favour of lifting the two-child benefit cap, for example. And that was very strange. But I think there's a kind of a calculation going on with Farage that he wants to try and capture those voters. So it's maybe, you could say it's pragmatism, maybe it's cynicism, but maybe it's just realpolitik, But actually in Sunderland, from what I can see, Reform are going to do really well, which is great because Sunderland, is that not where Bridget Phillipson, the most awful, arrogant, hideous Labour MP of them all, she could lose her seat, and I'd love to in 29. I'd love to see that.
That would be great. That as well. Again, my family, who I never thought would be on the same political alignment, they can't stand her. They hate her. They think she's, just let the town down. She's just, she's not speaking for them anymore. I mean, when you look at what's in Labour now, they are not working class. These are not Labour used to be staunch working class people, and these are not working class people at all. The career politicians, a lot of them, I'm sorry to say, but they're sick as hell, some of them, and they're just not speaking for their constituents anymore. They're not.
Are you surprised? I mean, Starmer came to power in the summer of 24 with a massive majority, and people were saying, oh, we could have 10 years of Labour. And honestly, Julie, within like a month of him coming to power, we had the stabbings of the little girls in Southport. And then people were being locked up by Starmer for saying things that he didn't like on Facebook and elsewhere. And so his popularity almost instantly tipped. And since then, it's just one way down. Are you surprised at how unpopular Labour have become so quickly?
No, because I'm just watching what they're doing so quickly. Every day, seriously, every day I think it can't get any worse. Since they've become in power, I literally think it can't get any worse today. And every day I'm proven wrong, because every day there's something else that I just think, how are they getting away with this? But
Yeah.
their arrogance is just off this scale. They're getting away with it because they're not in touch with the people who voted them in, and they're not in touch. They just, the arrogance. And let's be honest, a lot of them are globalists. A lot of them want to be in
Yeah.
the EU. They're not thinking of this country. They're thinking of the EU and Davos. And I mean,
Yeah.
Starmer spends all his time wanting to be with his little bum chums in Davos,
Yeah.
and they just, that's all they want. They're not focusing on us. They're focusing on Europe and EU, and
Yeah.
the amount of time he spends hugging and going over to Ukraine, or not over to Ukraine, but to speak with Zelensky in different places,
Yeah.
and reassuring him about, we're going to give you all this money for your military. What about our military?
I
What
know.
about our security, our safety? All this money that they can suddenly find for Ukraine and Zelensky, when our own military is just literally, well, it's a joke.
Yeah.
The people aren't. We've said this before. The people aren't who were in the military. The
No.
actual equipment and everything, the capability, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, I found it almost surreal that this morning, and bearing in mind the elections are on Thursday, he took himself off to
Yeah,
Armenia, to go and pledge extra money for
again.
Zelensky and to get the UK hooked even closer to the EU. And it's like, you're going to lose hundreds, maybe even over a couple of thousand of your political representatives on Thursday. And yet here you are today, Monday, and you're in Armenia. He's a guy, Julie. I think he feels more at home in somewhere like Kiev than in Britain, in London. I think even
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. It's so detached, like you say, like ordinary people. Most people don't give a toss about what's going on in Armenia. They've got their daily lives, and they want politicians that can improve them. And this guy, he lacks. I think he lacks emotional intelligence,
Oh
which
God, definitely.
yeah,
He's, I mean, like you say, there's no emotion there anyway. I mean, when there's no personality, there's
no,
nothing. He's just, I think he's on the spectrum, to be honest. I think he's just literally
yeah,
like
yeah,
this. He doesn't see what's going on around him. And like you
yeah.
say, he's more comfortable. He even said that, didn't he, when he was questioned about before he
Davos,
was,
yeah,
yeah. And
to Westminster, yeah,
that
yeah,
spoke volumes to me. Like, who's in line to be prime minister of this country picks Davos over his own country? And
if,
I'm
if,
annoyed that nobody's. I know they've got the majority, so it's hard because they've got the majority in the Commons. So of course
yeah,
all
yeah.
votes go their way, and this is the problem. So nobody's calling them into account. But then if they do, and it goes to a vote, the they just literally go that way because he orders them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because at
Yeah,
the end of the day,
yeah, but I mean, he had to do a three-line whip last
yeah.
week to avoid being referred to committee. And can I ask you, Julie, what do you think? Like, in the event of this being a disaster for his party, which I think it will be everywhere, do you think that he could continue as leader, and if he didn't, if there was a leadership challenge, who do you think would succeed him?
Oh my gosh. You know what? This is what scares me because I don't think anybody, I think, in fact, you're going to have even further to the left people
Yeah,
to get Andy Burnham in and Wes Streeting. Oh my God, he's just a thug. I don't know if you've seen his previous tweets. He's a thug.
I've seen them. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
really bad. And
Yeah.
then, God forbid, Angela Rayner. There's no one. And, even in the past, when I haven't been a Labour supporter, I haven't wanted Labour, there's been people that I've thought, I actually liked Tony Blair originally, believe it or not.
Mm.
I hate him now, obviously, but there was people that I thought had something about them that, yeah, there could be a leader. Like I wouldn't want you as my party, but I could see that there were. So I could see that they had some potential to them. I look at this shower of, sorry, I won't swear, and I just think, what the hell has happened to them? There's no one at the moment that I could see leading that party. if anything, he's their best that they've got. And that
Yeah.
that says it all.
The thing is, I think it's going to be Angela Rayner. I honestly do, and I think that's going to unfold very quickly because I think she accidentally leaked her Angela for Leader website back in January. So
And again, that speaks volumes. Somebody who's got this tax thing hanging over her, and she's suddenly going to be in contention for it. It just beggars belief.
Yeah, it is scary. And I remember thinking when he won back in 24, I remember looking at the Labour benches around him and thinking he's about the only one. And okay, he was a previous, DPP, so he knows he's got that lawyerly way with him. And at least he can do that for what it's worth, even if he has no emotional intelligence. But you look across the benches there, Julie, and I remember looking then thinking, my God, there's no one else. And
David
then I didn't
Lammy.
realize
You look at David Lammy.
Lammy. Yeah. Lammy. Ed Miliband. Apparently, he's very popular with the Labour rank and file. So, although it is said he would like to be Chancellor, I know, but this is the thing, Julie. Our country has to go through. I think we have to go through this almost crash and burn, and then from the ashes rises the phoenix. Britain reborn. Just like our friends in the States did. They had to go through 4 years of Joe Biden for Trump to come back, and we're going through it now. And sometimes I get despondent, and then if my American friend said to me, David, look, 2020 we felt awful. It was awful, and then 2024 came and things started to improve a bit. But for us, we've got at least, Julie, the same challenge because we cannot, I think, survive, as I said earlier, another parliamentary term where the centre right isn't in firm control, because I think we're gone then. I think we'll be back in the EU, borders completely wide open. I don't know what happens then.
But again, these should be done for treason because we did, whether you like it or not, we did a vote on whether we wanted to stay in the EU or whether we wanted to leave.
Yeah.
We won. We said we wanted to leave. That's never been accepted. We've never been given the Brexit we were promised because there's just been everybody who's tried to overturn it. And now you've got them just taking us in through the back door. And we're supposed to just sit back and accept it because, again, the arrogance is, oh, no, it's not worked for us. People don't want to be out. Sure. Yeah. It's like, well, you know what? Well, then do another referendum and see. But you can't just take us through back into the EU because you decided that's what you want. But this is what's happening. He gets away with it all the time because nobody's pulling him in or bringing him into account. And he should have been gone way before the Mandelson inquiry. He should have been gone. And why is he stalling so much on the grooming gang inquiry? It's there's some reason there as well.
I was on an American show last week, and it was a kind of conservative show, and they said to me, we were really happy in the States when you guys voted back in 2016, the year we got Donald Trump as president. You guys voted to leave the European Union, and their question to me, so why didn't you? And I said, well, it's because the British establishment never wanted us to. I mean, we the people, Julie, voted back then. The Tories didn't want us out. Labour didn't want us out. No. The Lib Dems, and then we didn't have anything else back then.
And now they did the media. The media.
This is the problem. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I was surprised it actually went that way. So was Farage, because I didn't think it was going to happen, and I would have accepted that. So when it did happen, I was elated. I thought, my God, we've actually done it. But it's just never been allowed, has it?
Well, if you take where I live, Northern Ireland we haven't Brexited. We're still in the single market. Yeah. What that means practically for me is if I want to go and buy some things on say Amazon, they don't deliver to Northern Ireland because it's under the single market. There's all sorts of complexity for say English or Scottish Welsh exporters to me. So I feel huge resentment, but in fairness, that resentment is I think what Stormer wants to do is put you folks in England, Scotland, and Wales, where I am, namely
Yeah.
back under single market rules. So actually, the betrayal of Brexit's been complete, and that needs to be sorted out good and proper.
Yeah,
Because
it does.
frankly, I want nothing to do with the EU. I would declare a national emergency in the English Channel. I would declare France a hostile nation. I would start to show a pair and actually do something. But and we need people to do that, Julie. We do need more voices to
We
get
do.
muscular.
The problem is, I think Macron's pulling all the strings at the moment. And
Yeah,
I mean, we're along with Blair, even though, some, believe it or not, some things that Blair said lately, I agree with. I never thought I'd hear myself saying that. But I'm Corbyn. Wow.
mm,
But I just think it just frustrates me that we are literally getting dragged into this. We've not been allowed to have any say in it since it's happened. And
no.
the one thing I will say is, if Reform do get in and Farage gets in, at least there's going to be more voices for us on
Mm.
this as well, and there'll be more people voting. So therefore, the majority votes that always get their way won't
Mm.
happen.
One thing I think that is positive as regards reform, and that is that Farage is showing himself very sensitive to voices from Advance or from Restore
Yeah.
on certain
Yeah.
policies. So it's like the positive thing about having these other parties is that
It's pushing.
yeah, and that's good. So that stops Farage from drifting too far into the cozy consensus, which I think he probably feels himself more at ease with. So that's why I think it's really positive to have Advance UK and Restore and indeed other parties, but particularly those two, because he's sensitive to their
Yeah.
views and the policies. I mean, I've not heard Rupert or Ben actually say anything that I particularly disagree with. I kind of go with what they're saying, and that's a plus. The fact that they can pressurize reform and if you like, keep them on the right side of things
Yeah.
rather than allowing them to drift. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you say, because it's sad actually, because Rupert and Ben have got very similar stance on everything.
Very,
They align in
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And I know there's a lot of ethnonats have jumped onto Rupert, but actually Rupert, I just wish he would call them out a bit more, because he's
yeah,
not actually, his policies aren't ethnonats at all. And I don't know why they seem to think that Restore is all about getting rid of everybody and everything. But I do think both parties are pushing Nigel Farage into, like you say,
yes,
not
I
straying
agree.
too far,
Yeah, yeah,
and not pandering to the MSM, which he was starting to do because they were calling him a racist. So it's almost as if I want to be taken seriously now by these people, so I've got to start conforming a little bit. And
mm,
it's good because, like you say, suddenly they're going back that way. So
yeah. I think it's plus, and the other point you said earlier, Julie, when we were chatting, like there's 3 years to go before the next, most likely the next general election. So that gives. I do believe in the marketplace of good ideas. I think the party with the best ideas will probably win out, whoever that is. And so that's why I'm happy for everyone to throw their pennies worth in, and
yeah,
that's got to be for the good. But I did get again, it kind of irritated me today. Another Restore supporter having a go at British Indians. Now I happen to have a lot of British Indians who follow me and have done for a long time, and I've been to events in England with them, and inevitably, Julie, these Indians have contributed enormously to our society, our economy,
yeah,
to job creation. They're good people. They are horrified and have for the reason I got the myself, and I remember Katie Hopkins first, was that they couldn't understand why the British government, the conservative British government, wouldn't stand up to Pakistani oppression of Indians here in the UK. And now we have Restore people beginning to say, oh, we need to send you all back. Yeah, that I got to say, Julie, I mean, that's another thing that It's not Rupert I'm saying necessarily, but it's not an acceptable view, because that's too close to racism, I think, myself. What do you think?
Well, it is. And the thing is, it's awful because I've spent the past 4 or 5 years saying that racism is just another word that the left have used just to get their own way or to shut
Yeah.
us down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, the true racists are actually coming out. And it's awful because it it's just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because I've got, like yourself, I've got a lot of friends from
Yeah.
all ethnic backgrounds,
Yeah.
and and of all colours, and I just think I don't want them to go anyway. I mean, and apart from the
No.
fact they've been brought up
Yeah.
here, they've been born
Yeah.
here, they are British. And I look at, like I said to you before, Ben Habib, who gets horrible slurs about him, because he's Pakistani heritage. And I just think, you know what, that man has got more British patriotism in
Oh,
him than
yeah.
any other
Yeah.
MP in
Yeah.
Parliament at the minute. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's awful to watch, because these, as long as people assimilate, as long as people love this country and want the culture of this country to stay as it is, and as long as we
Yeah.
still
That's right.
primarily a Christian country with Christian values, with Christianity in our laws,
Yeah.
and no other religions' laws start coming into our
Yeah.
country, then why do we want these people to go?
Yeah. As you say, it is that fringe ethno-nat section. But I don't think it's over. They make a lot of noise on X and whatnot, but I'm not sure that they're that representative, and they certainly don't represent me, or yourself, I think,
No.
Julie, in terms of,
I've
I mean,
served with a lot of people who are
yeah,
different ethnic backgrounds, and they've served their country. They fought for this country. No,
yeah,
why the hell? Why? If you look at it that way, I see these liberals, these white British liberals with their coloured hair and everything, with a placard saying
yeah,
refugees welcome. They've got more hate for this country and its flags and its the whole being of it, of being British, than what these other people who the ethno-nats see as not British. I
yeah,
just think I know who I'd rather have with me
yeah.
and in my country and on my side.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the same here. Like you, Julie. I'm friends with people from a wide range of people, and the one thing that they have in common is, like us, they love this country. They're happy to be in this country. They contribute to this country. They respect our laws. So I'll take them 10 out of 10. And if that annoys some people, I don't care. Listen, Julie. I told you the hour would go very quickly. We have gone past our allocated time, which is usually the way, by the way. So listen, Julie, I hope you enjoyed all that. It's been brilliant chatting to you.
And
I
you?
mean, we have talked very briefly in the past at different things, but it's lovely to have a bit of time just to have a chat like this, because I think voices like yours are very representative of a swathe of Britain that hopefully will be heard increasingly, later this week and in the time ahead. But can I just also recommend everybody, if you're watching this, please make sure you give Julie a follow. There she is over on the Twitters or the X's or whatever it is, with the fantastic new crappy algorithm. Yeah, thanks, Elon. Really loving your new algorithm. But give Julie a follow anyway, please, because I always put you down, Julie, as a sane voice. So sometimes in
Thank
X,
you.
it has to be said, there's definitely a demented fringe, and so I always look for people that are pretty based and sensible, and you're one of those voices. So
Okay,
thanks.
tell all my trolls that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I know. What can you do?
But the
Listen.
same for
Thank you
you. And
very.
I think people should follow yourself as well, David Vance, and look at all your YouTube channels and follow you.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you very much, Julie. Thanks everybody for watching this one. Tune in tomorrow morning on Substack for my 9 o'clock breakfast brief live on Substack at 9 o'clock with one of these, a coffee in one hand and attitude in the other. And so I'll see you then. And but from Julie and myself, it's a good night. Good night.